The Chicago Bulls are in the middle of completely restructuring their front office. And while that's happening, we absolutely have to take a glimpse at what a potential head coach could look like for the Chicago Bulls. And with recent reports coming out from KC Johnson suggesting that Wes Unseld Jr. could be a legit candidate, we have to ask the question, is he a legit candidate? And what will a Chicago Bull head coach need to bring to the table? We're going to talk about it, break it all down, but you got to hear the music first.
Cognac, gang.
Shy Bulls podcast with the Cognac Boys. I'm Cognac Boy Bobby, and I'm holding it down for today's daily episode. So if you're tuned in, love talking Bulls basketball, even if you love them, even if they give you a headache, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe. Myself and my co-host C-Dub are on our road to 10K. So go ahead and support the channel by 2 simple steps: hitting that like button and subscribing to the channel. Now, hey, we got to talk about Wes Unseld Jr. and if he has a shot at becoming the Chicago Bulls' next head coach. We did receive reports from KC Johnson that there's a chance that of a lot of assistants that was previously part of Billy Donovan's staff could potentially stick around, and that Wes Unseld Jr. has a legit chance to be the head coach for the Chicago Bulls. It's one of those things to where I'm looking at it and I'm like, man, I'm not totally against it, but I'm not totally for it either. It's one of those things to where I'm looking at it and I'm saying to myself, like, man, why can't we just start over with a clean, fresh slate? Get rid of the assistants, get rid of the old head coach, and just let's move on. We've already seen the restructuring of the front office for the Chicago Bulls. We've already seen those type of things started to happen. Why should we bring in or retain somebody that was previously on the staff of Billy Donovan? I just not 100% with it. I'm not going out here and saying that Wes Unseld Jr. cannot potentially help the Chicago Bulls get better and improve. It's just that I want some fresh blood. I want that fresh new car, the way you sit down in there and you take your test drive, you have that new car smell. I want that new car smell surrounding my Chicago Bulls organization. Now, for reference, if we talk about some of those assistants that was a part of Billy Donovan's coaching staff, names will include Wes Unseld Jr., of course, but also guys like John Bryant, Dan Craig, and Billy Schmeidt. So it's not a list of bad names to have around, you know what I'm saying? Because I feel like they was very personable people, but it's still one of those things to where I'm just like, man, I'm not really with it. But does Wes Unseld Jr. legitimately have a shot as head coach for the Chicago Bulls? Well, let's go through the track record. Wes Unseld Jr. got his start in coaching back in 2005 with the Washington Wizards. Definitely spent time with the Golden State Warriors, spent time with the Orlando Magic, also the Denver Nuggets, and then went back to become the head coach of the Washington Wizards. In his first season with the Washington Wizards, he had a record of 35-47, and that included guys like Kyle Kuzma on the team, Bradley Beal on the team, and so on and so forth. And then after having that 35-47 record back in 2021-22 season, he followed that up by duplicating the same exact result with another 35-47 record. He on his team, it still included guys like Bradley Beal. Then they had Taj Gibson. Rui Hachimura was a part of that team. They had Denny Avia on that team as well, and still couldn't get it done. Now, that is not a lot of talent on the team if we keeping it a buck, but it's still one of those things to you look at, well, how did you in the front office put together something that can you can visually see or reference that there was a complete step forward. It's a legitimate question to ask. And in the last year of Wes Unseld Jr.'s career with the Washington Wizards, he only coached 43 games before taking an advisory role with the Washington Wizards front office. So it's not necessarily a bad thing. You know what I'm saying? It's not a large sample size as him being a head coach, and that's fine. It's just, again, going back to one of those things where I'm like, man, can we just completely clean house? That's just how I'm saying. And I'm pretty sure there was some people that probably rock with Wes Unseld Jr. I'm pretty sure there's some people on the Chicago Bulls that rock with Wes Unseld Jr. But my stance is, let's get a new car. Let's do something fresh. Let's bring in some other names. You know what I'm saying? And those type of names that are out there going through a number of things, in my mind, I have a list of 5 guys that I will absolutely interview. And to be fair, I'm not trying to be harsh here on Wes Unseld Jr. It's not his fault that Billy Donovan stepped down. Billy Donovan decided to take that role and move on to other things. And Michael Reinsdorf also made it clear he wanted the next guy to come in and, absorb a head coach like Billy Donovan. But Billy Donovan saved us from ourselves and said, nah, I'm gonna allow the GM to do his own thing. And I'm hopeful that the GM goes on and do his own thing. Because one of my other Chicago franchises, when a coach was handed to the GM and the GM ultimately rode with the head coach that was given to him in Matt Eberflus, look how that happened. And I'm not saying that that's the same thing that can happen for my Chicago Bulls, but allow the guy to pick his own guy. But I do want to move on to talk about the 5 candidates that I believe should absolutely receive an interview, not be the head coach, but receive an interview. The first name is Rajon Rondo, former NBA player, spent time with Doc Rivers as an assistant, and I think that his basketball IQ is out the wazoo. So I say, hell, that's a really good candidate just to at least hear him out, just to at least give him an opportunity to make his case on why he should be the head coach for the Chicago Bulls. The next guy on my list is Sam Cassell. I believe that Sam Cassell is a hell of a guy that you can absolutely bring to the table just to pick his brain, just to see what type of things that he has done as an assistant for all these years, and see if he could potentially be a guy that you can select for your head coaching position. The next guy is Chris Quinn down with the Miami Heat. Definitely coming from an organization that believes in toughness, that believes in development, that believes in winning. So that's somebody that I will absolutely entertain to bring to the Chicago Bulls table to at least have a conversation and see if he could potentially be the guy that comes out as the head coach for the Chicago Bulls. Another guy, number 4, is Micah Nori, now with the Minnesota Timberwolves, who was just recently eliminated a couple days ago. And why not? This is a guy who took over for Chris Finch when Chris Finch had to deal with some personal stuff. And, ultimately, I believe is a really good guy. They have a mentality of being tough over there. Obviously, the player personnel might have to change a little bit over there in Minnesota for them to win. But he has gone through his fair share of being a part of an organization that has done things the right way over the last few years. You look at some of the player personnel and look at some of the teams that they knocked off in recent memory. You should be really, really impressed with his helpfulness to accomplishing those goals, for lack of a better word. And now the last one, my 5th person I believe should absolutely receive an interview invitation for the Chicago Bulls head coaching job is Tiago Splitter. Now, this is a little bit tricky one. You know what I'm saying? Simply because the owner over there for the Portland Trailblazers is out of his damn mind, if we keeping it a buck. He's out of his mind. This is a guy over there that's the owner who absolutely is trying to run the NBA team like it's an NHL team. While the Portland Trailblazers was going through their season, this bozo was out there trying to interview other coaches for his head coaching position, and games were still being played. And shout out to the reports that suggested that Tom Thibodeau and Mike Malone was 2 of the guys that he reached out to and they ultimately declined. Shout out to Mike Malone and Tom Thibodeau on that, simply because it is very, very disrespectful for this mofo to be sitting up here trying to replace a head coach that is battling for playoff positioning at that moment in time that the reports were out there, and then ultimately got the Portland Trailblazers to the damn playoffs after a season that started with your head coach going to the feds or dealing with the feds. I think Tiago Splitter deserves better than that. He is a former player that was a part of the San Antonio Spurs, spent time on staffs like Ime Udoka's, and has been a part of an organization like the San Antonio Spurs. I am very, very interested in Tiago Splitter, and it seems as if right now the owner over there for the Portland Trailblazers is not interested in giving this man a legit opportunity and promoting him to the head coach after he made it to the playoffs in the Western Conference for you. It is absurd. It is absolutely absurd on how delusional the owner is over there. So I will absolutely be on the phone talking to Tiago Splitter's representation and trying to get an interview with him to potentially try to see if he's the best candidate for the Chicago Bulls head coaching job. Now, out of the names like Rajon Rondo, Sam Cassell, Chris Quinn, Mike Onori, and Tiago Splitter, right now, personally, my favorite is Tiago Splitter. Y'all let me know how y'all feeling about that, about the coach and the candidates. And if I didn't mention somebody, drop it in the comment box down below. And also let me know how you feeling about Wes Unseld Jr. because I'm ready to move off of him. You let me know how you feel down below. Now, before we get up out of here, since we're on the conversations of talking about head coaches, I want to talk about some attributes that I think are very, very important for the next guy to come within the organization. I believe I have four traits that I believe is essential to the success of our Chicago Bulls. We don't want to be mid. We don't want to constantly be being in the play-in. We want sustained success in Chicago because you beautiful people and myself, along with my co-host C-Dub, we deserve to cover a team that cares about winning. We deserve a team that gets results. We deserve a team that is in conversations for conference finals, for actual finals. We deserve that as much as we go out and support this team. The seats are always filled, the merch is always being bought, and we are constantly banging our heads on the table for us to be better, and we deserve it. So I have four traits that I believe is essential to the success of the next head coach. The number one thing, I believe he has to be a vocal guy. And when I talk about being vocal, it's talking about saying what you need to be done and then the players listening to those type of things. Actually being a guy that cares about his players. Being a guy that is not afraid to say the quiet parts out loud. A leader of men. And then moving on to the next trait, I'm talking about holding players accountable. We just had an interview come out that included a guy like Miles Turner talking about Doc Rivers never find people for being late. That is nothing I want around my organization that I support. Shit, because at the end of the day, you people like you and me, we can't show up late to a damn a meeting. We can't show up late to work multiple times and not face reprimand. So I need a guy that's going to come in here and hold players accountable when it comes to if we drawing up a play within the last 10 seconds and guys don't go out there and execute at a level. Don't go and say it to the media, but hold players accountable on how you're supposed to execute for the sake of winning. I don't need him to go out there and hold players accountable to the media, which sometimes that happen. But I care more so about how do you hold players accountable when they screw up, when they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing, when they're not putting in the time. That's very, very important to me. The next thing, third one, I need a guy that's in here that is focused on development. We're a young team. We have guys like Josh Giddey. We have guys like Montes Buzelis, And we're going to have an influx of young guys that are going to be entering this organization. I understand that a lot of tasks gets passed down to the staff for developmental purposes, but him as a head coach needs to be holding his staff accountable to make sure that these players are progressing in the right direction, and not only off the court during practices, but actually during the games. And as men, good character guys matter in winning organizations. Sometimes you're going to have a loose screw. Absolutely. But we don't need this thing falling off the rails. We need a guy that is development focused on the and having the best interest of his players to be performative in a positive light on the basketball court. And last but not least, I'm talking about a head coach that has an adaptable offensive and defensive system, not a guy that wants to just come out here and say, within the first 10 seconds, we need to be driving to the basketball. And if you don't have it a shot, kick it to the three, and we chucking up threes. We just seen what that type of play style did to the Chicago Bulls, did to a team like the Boston Celtics, though they won a championship playing that. But how bad was it seeing a team like the Boston Celtics literally not make nothing shake in the playoffs, bro? We need something better. We need a guy that's going to go out there and say, hey, if you have a mid-range shot, take that shot. If I draw something up and I draw something up to the degree that your strength is in the mid-range, make sure you take the shot. Hey, these guys are playing zone. We're going to make sure that we get the ball in the middle of the zone to break down the zone and then make the right play. And then on the defensive side, if man-to-man is not working, we're going to switch to a 1-2-1, or, you know what I'm saying? Something like that. Like, you know, be adaptable to what the game is telling you to do offensively and defensively. And my math was totally off. I'm talking about 1-2-1. I know that ain't a damn defense, but y'all get the point. Y'all get the point. That math is off for sure, but I get the point. Those are some of the things that I'm looking for the next head coach of the Chicago Bulls. Down below, you let me know, how are you feeling, and what does the next coach need to bring to our organization so we can return to prosperity? Because let's just say, for the sake of discussion, the Knicks go to the finals and they have a chance to win it. And let's just say, being hyperbolic, that they win. We'll just say that. We return next year. There's no guaranteed juggernaut in the East. The Bulls can really turn this thing around. I'm predicting that we turn it around in 2 to 3 seasons, but you can really gain some ground with the Eastern Conference, which the Chicago Bulls are in. Y'all let me know if I'm crazy for thinking that way. By the way, that is it for me today, man. I appreciate y'all for tuning in to another episode of Shy Bulls Podcast. Before you get up out of here, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell as well, man. I appreciate y'all. Make sure you always see red. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. And y'all already know I'm going to catch y'all on the next one for sure. Peace.
Cognac.